Welcome back, deep divers. Today, we're taking you to ancient Rome.
To the Colosseum.
You got it.
Awesome.
But not just to admire the ruins you know. We're going deeper. Beyond those touristy snapshots to uncover the real story of this place.
It's a story of power, spectacle.
And a society completely obsessed with the drama going on inside those walls.
Oh, yeah. It's fascinating.
Before we get started, we should mention that we'll be using excerpts from this article. The title translates to pasted text.
Pasted text?
Yeah, kind of a weird title.
It's frustrating.
But trust me, the content is amazing. Okay, so picture this. It's 70 AD, and Emperor Vespasian kicks off construction on this massive amphitheater.
This thing is huge.
But get this, he builds it on the site of Nero's former palace.
That's interesting. Why there?
That's the question, right? What's the story there?
Yeah, what's the story?
Well, I guess Nero wasn't exactly the most beloved emperor.
Ah, okay.
Known for his cruelty and all that.
Right.
So when Vespasian comes into power, he needs to distance himself and his whole new dynasty from, well, Nero's shadow.
I see.
What better way than to transform this symbol of Nero's excess into, like, a gift for the people?
That's a pretty big statement. Turning the palace into the Colosseum.
Total power move. It's like,
Right.
hey, look at me. I'm giving you this awesome Colosseum where you can watch gladiators battle. Forget that other guy.
Exactly. Genius, really. And the scale of this thing was meant to impress.
Oh, absolutely.
We were talking a capacity of like 50,000 to 80,000 spectators.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine the roar of that crowd, the energy?
It gives me chills just thinking about it.
Seriously.
But it wasn't just gladiatorial combat that drew those massive crowds.
Yeah.
No, not at all. There was more going on there.
Oh yeah, the Colosseum was a multi-purpose arena. They put on these elaborate animal hunts too.
Animal hunts? Like, what kind of animals are we talking about?
Oh, you name it. Lions, tigers, elephants.
Whoa.
They shipped these beasts in from every corner of the empire. Can you imagine?
That's insane.
It was all about showcasing Roman dominance over nature, you know? Raw spectacle, tapping into that primal fascination we have with the wild.
Wow, so we've got political maneuvering, exotic animals.
Yeah.
This is already shaping up to be a pretty wild day out in ancient Rome.
We haven't even gotten to the gladiators yet.
The gladiators. Okay, now we're talking.
That's where things get really interesting.
I'm ready. Bring on the gladiators.
All right, so picture a gladiator. What comes to mind?
I'll be honest, I've been totally influenced by Hollywood.
I hear ya.
You know, those epic sword fights, the muscle-bound warriors battling to the death.
Right.
But I have a feeling the reality was a bit more, I don't know, nuanced.
You're absolutely right.
Okay, good.
The world of gladiators was far more complex than most people realize.
I'm all ears.
For starters, not all gladiators were slaves forced into combat. Some were free men.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Volunteers even, drawn by the allure of fame and fortune.
They chose this life.
They did.
It's hard to imagine willingly stepping into an arena with a sword, knowing you might not,
Not make it out.
Yeah.
I know. What kind of people were drawn to this?
Exactly. Like, what would make someone choose that?
It was a mix, really. Some were driven by poverty, hoping for prize money or to earn their freedom. Others were looking to escape, maybe a life of crime. And then there are those who just craved the thrill of it all.
The thrill.
Yeah, the combat, the roar of the crowd, the chance to become a legend.
Wow, it's almost like a twisted form of celebrity, isn't it?
Yeah, in a way.
But they weren't just mindless brawlers, right?
Definitely not. They were highly trained specialists.
Okay, so they had skills.
Oh yeah, each gladiator had their own fighting style, specialized equipment.
Like different categories.
Think of it like weight classes in boxing, each with its own strengths and weaknesses.
So give us the rundown.
Okay.
What were some of the most popular gladiator types?
Well, there was the Murmillo,
Murmillo.
the heavy hitter, you could say.
Okay, the big guy.
Yeah, heavily armored with a massive rectangular shield and a gladius.
The gladius.
That short, straight sword you see in the movies.
Ah, the classic gladiator look. So who else stepped into the arena?
We had the Thraex, wielding a curved sword called a sica.
A sica.
And a smaller, rounder shield. Their helmets often had a griffin on top, Talk about intimidation.
Fierce.
Right.
Anyone else?
Oh, yeah. Then there's the Rhetarius.
The Rhetarius. Okay.
A real wild card. They fought with a net and a trident.
A net and a trident. That's different.
Relying on agility and trickery to take down their opponent.
Wow. So it wasn't just brute force. There was strategy involved. Skill.
Definitely.
Even a bit of showmanship, it sounds like.
Absolutely. Highly trained performers, each with their own unique appeal to the crowd.
And the successful ones. They could achieve real fame, huh?
Oh yeah, incredible fame and fortune.
This is blowing my mind. Okay, so we've got these different gladiator types, each with their own fighting style, backstory, and then they face off in the arena. What happened then? Was it always a fight to the death, like we see in the movies?
That's where the myths and the reality of gladiatorial combat really start to diverge.
Okay, so we've got this massive Colosseum, the roaring crowd, these incredible gladiators, each with their own fighting style. What happened when the clash began? Was it always a fight to the death, like we see in the movies?
That's a common misconception, you know. While some fights did end fatally, it wasn't always the case. You got to remember that gladiators were valuable assets. Their owners invested a lot in their training, upkeep.
Makes sense.
They preferred them alive, fighting another day.
Yeah, it makes sense from a purely economic standpoint, you know? But what about the audience? They demanded blood and gore, didn't they?
Well, the Romans did have a taste for spectacle, that's for sure.
I bet they did.
But the games were about more than just bloodshed.
Really? What else?
Skill, courage, the drama of combat, you know?
Okay.
A skilled gladiator who fought bravely, he could win the admiration of the crowd.
Even in defeat?
Even in defeat, yeah.
So it was more like a sporting event.
In a way, yeah. There were rules, referees,
Boy.
even a system of scoring points.
Get out of here.
Yeah, the outcome of a fight wasn't always predetermined either.
Interesting.
And the crowd, they could influence the outcome.
Wait, how so? I always thought it was the emperor who decided a gladiator's fate. Thumbs up or thumbs down, right?
Ah, another Hollywood myth.
Is it?
The reality is much more interesting. So the gesture we associate with thumbs up, it likely meant sword down.
Sword down, okay.
Signaling mercy for a defeated gladiator.
Interesting.
And a closed fist, on the other hand, might have signaled sword up, meaning death.
Oh.
But ultimately, the decision rested with the editor.
The editor.
Yeah, the official who oversaw the games.
Okay.
He considered the crowd's reaction, the gladiator's performance, the owner's wishes before making that final call.
Wow, I had no idea. It sounds like a lot more factors went into those decisions than we often think. Even if a gladiator survived a fight, their life couldn't have been easy, could it? What was their existence like outside the arena?
Well, it's true. They faced immense risks.
Yeah.
They endured harsh training.
Right.
They lived in barracks within these training schools called ludi,
Okay.
where they followed a strict regimen, physical and mental preparation.
So they were like elite athletes in a way.
Exactly.
Okay.
Their diet was carefully controlled, high in protein and carbohydrates to fuel their training.
Makes sense.
They practiced their skills constantly, honing their techniques, first with wooden swords and shields, then with real weapons.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
I bet their diet was way different from the typical Roman food, wasn't it?
You're right, yeah. While most Romans subsisted on bread, olives, vegetables, gladiators, they had a more protein-rich diet.
Right.
Barley, beans, and believe it or not, snails. Yeah. It gave them the energy and strength they needed to endure all that training and combat.
Snails.
Yeah.
I never would have guessed that. So they had this intense training, specialized diet. They faced these incredible dangers in the arena. What kind of camaraderie existed between them? Could they form bonds in such a brutal world?
Despite the brutality of their profession, gladiators often formed strong bonds with each other.
Really?
They lived together, trained together, faced death together, you know.
Yeah.
They understood the risks and the pressures of their lives in a way few others could.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
It's that shared experience, facing danger together. It can forge powerful connections, I imagine.
Exactly. There's even evidence of like close friendships, romantic relationships between gladiators.
Wow.
They created their own subculture with their own slang, rituals, superstitions. Some even had fan clubs.
Get out of here.
Yeah, imagine ancient Roman groupies cheering on their favorite gladiators.
Wow. So they were more than just fighting machines. They were real people with their own hopes and fears and relationships. But let's zoom out for a second. Look at the bigger picture.
Okay.
These gladiatorial games, they were more than just entertainment, weren't they?
Right.
They played a significant role in Roman society and politics.
You're absolutely right. The games were deeply intertwined with Roman life. On one level, they were a powerful tool for social control.
Okay, explain that one. How did watching people fight keep society in check?
Well, think about it. If the masses are preoccupied with the spectacle of the arena,
Yeah.
they're less likely to focus on, political unrest
Right.
or social inequalities. The games provided a release valve for pent-up frustrations, a distraction from the realities of life in the Roman Empire.
It's that classic bread and circuses strategy.
Exactly. Keep the people entertained and fed.
And they won't cause trouble.
And they'll be less likely to cause trouble, yeah.
Ugh, the age-old tactic of distraction. But the games weren't just about keeping the masses in line, were they?
No, they were also a powerful tool for political influence.
Okay.
So the seating arrangement in the Colosseum itself,
Yeah.
it reflected Roman social hierarchy. The closer you were to the action, the higher your status.
Oh, interesting.
Senators and wealthy citizens, they occupied the prime seats.
The best seats in the house.
Right, while commoners sat further back. It was a visual representation of the power structure of Roman society.
So the games were a way to reinforce the social order.
Right.
And emperors could use them to their advantage.
Exactly. Emperors would sponsor lavish games, shower the crowd with gifts,
Sure.
showcase their generosity. It was a way to win over the public, solidify their authority, and even send messages to their rivals.
So it wasn't just about entertainment. It was about power, control, and sending a message. The Colosseum was a stage for so much more than just gladiatorial combat. But even the most popular trends, they eventually fade away, right?
That's true.
What led to the decline of these bloody spectacles?
Well, several factors contributed to the eventual demise of gladiatorial combat. As the Roman Empire expanded, the cost of staging these lavish spectacles, it became increasingly burdensome.
Yeah, no kidding. Think about it, right? Transporting those exotic animals, feeding, housing all those gladiators, maintaining a massive arena like the Colosseum.
Exactly. Talk about an expensive hobby.
No wonder emperors had to raise taxes. But it wasn't just the cost, was it? There were other things going on too, right?
Right. Around the same time, there's this new force emerging within the Roman Empire, Christianity.
Christianity.
Our early Christians, they condemned the brutality and bloodshed of the arena.
I can see why.
Saw it as incompatible with their faith,
Yeah.
And as Christianity
The
spread...
pressure to abolish the games grew.
Exactly. It's fascinating, isn't it? How a shift in beliefs can lead to such a dramatic societal change.
Totally. What was once considered entertainment becomes, condemned as barbaric.
Really highlights the evolution of human morality, don't you think?
It does. So what happened? Did you just stop the games?
Well, eventually, the tide turned against gladiatorial combat. In 404 AD, Emperor Honorius, he officially banned it.
Wow, after centuries of these bloody spectacles, that's it.
Imagine that, right? The curtain finally closed.
That's wild. Hard to believe something so ingrained in Roman culture could just vanish like that.
Well, it wasn't quite overnight. There's evidence that some fights continued underground, for a few decades.
Okay.
But the golden age of gladiatorial combat, it was over.
What about the Colosseum, though? It just sat there.
The Colosseum stood as a silent witness to these changing times.
Crazy to think about.
But its story didn't end there.
Right. It didn't.
Because today...
Today, it's one of the most visited tourist attractions in the world.
Exactly. Millions of people, they flock to see its crumbling walls, try to imagine the spectacles that once unfolded within its arena.
It's amazing, really, to think that this structure, once a symbol of Roman power and brutality,
Yeah.
now it stands as a testament to, the enduring power of history.
It's a powerful reminder, that even the mightiest empires, they rise and fall.
They do.
Societal values, they evolve.
Mm-hmm.
And the things we find entertaining, well, they can reveal a lot about who we are.
That's deep.
What do you think, listener? As you stand amidst the ruins of the Colosseum, what echoes of the past do you hear? Do you see the roar of the crowd, clash of steel, or maybe just the whispers of gladiators long gone?
The Colosseum, it really invites us to confront the complexities of history,
It does.
to grapple with, those darker aspects of human nature, and to marvel at the legacy of a civilization that shaped the course of Western civilization.
And it makes us think about our own forms of entertainment, doesn't it?
It does.
What spectacles of today might future generations view with that same mix of fascination and horror? What will our legacy be?
Those are some thought-provoking questions to ponder.
They are.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the Colosseum, a journey that has taken us from the heights of Roman power to the depths of human nature and beyond.
It's been a journey.
We encourage you to explore further, delve into that rich tapestry of Roman history, and discover the countless stories that lie hidden beneath the surface. Until next time, Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.